thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Thanks for your interest in pinball. Okay, and that was an interesting story, which I'll come back to.
All right.
We all have the same interest. We all are interested in pinball. You all are hobbyists, collectors, enthusiasts, players. We're interested in it at Stern, both because we like pinball, but it's our business. We need to make a living in it. Most of us have done it. A large part of our business careers. So we all want to make a living, but we all want to preserve pinball. The world would exist without pinball. I mean, let's face it, the world would go on. A little bit of the fabric of life would be gone. All of us, most of us working with me, we've done this our entire business careers. I say that I've been doing this for 64 years because I'm 66 years old. And the family started making pinball machines. Well, back up. My father started as a game operator in Philadelphia. And then, as many operators in those days, that was in the 30s, he became a game distributor in order to get games earlier, cheaper, get them before his competitors. So then he was a game distributor. In 1947, as a 35-year-old punk kid, and I can say 35-year-old punk kid because I'm 66, as a 35-year-old punk kid, he came to Chicago to visit some of the suppliers, and he's kidding around with Harry Williams, who was probably a 39-year-old punk kid at the time. He sat behind his desk, Harry's desk, put his feet up, kidding around, and said, "Harry, why don't you sell me the company?" And Harry said, "Well, I have to think about that. I'll go up in my airplane." He flew around Chicago for 3 hours. He had a Bonanza to play with a V-tail. For 3 hours, came down, sold my father half the company, and we moved from Philadelphia to Chicago. When I was 3, he commuted for a year. So I say I've been in this for 64 years. Actually, maybe before that, in the sense that we were game distributors and operators in the family. I was born in 45, so in 47 he bought into Williams, and ultimately Harry sold out, but Harry was always involved with us, whether we were at Williams, whether when my father went 1 year to be executive vice president of Bally, in charge of their pinball, came back to Williams, Harry had gone with him there. When we had Stern, Harry went with us to Stern, and Harry was like a second father. He was always there, and he was part of it. And in fact, you mentioned Stingray, which that was the Stern Electronics days, and my father had retired. My sister-in-law said to me, we had left Williams. We had both left Williams in 1976, early 76, and I was a bankruptcy and banking lawyer. And my sister-in-law said to me, "You got to get Sam. You got to get him a job. He's cleaned my closets twice this week." He had nothing to do. So we bought the assets out of a bank foreclosure of Chicago Coin, and we had the first Stern. Sam worked half days, but he was the guiding force behind us, and of course the company was named Stern because of Sam, not because of me. Our second game, I learned something from Harry. One time I brought Harry to the house. I picked him up at the airport, took him to my father's house, and the three of us are laying on the floor, looking at a playfield drawing. And in those days, everything was done. I'm just rambling on here, but we'll come back to something in the semblance of an order. In those days, everything was done on a drafting table, a drawing board, which you don't find anymore. Today, everything is done. It used to be done in CAD, computer-assisted design, which is two-dimensional. We do everything in SolidWorks now. SolidWorks is three-dimensional. Maybe I'll get a chance to show you some film that has some of it on it. But if you don't have SolidWorks, you're not in the modern world. And we need to bring pinball into the 21st century. Again, a theme that I'll come back to. Anyway, so Harry, Sam, and I are laying on the floor there, and he had this playfield drawing, and again, everything was done with drafting, with a pencil. And we were modern. We had electric erasers. That was the modern, amount of it. You're nodding back there, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know that you got to have SolidWorks to do anything today, because. Again, digressing. SolidWorks, you model the whole part, and you see how everything interferes. Will the ball even fit through? Will these switches? Will the screw go through the middle of the playfield? You see everything that's going on, and then you don't print out a blueprint. You give the model on the disc or on your FTP site to the metal house or the wood house or whatever. And they put it in their CNC machines, and boom, out comes the part. They don't have to convert the drawing into a tool or into a CNC tape or anything else, because it's just, there's no chance of error. The drawing is the drawing. The model is the model. Anyway, so Sam and Harry and I are laying on the floor, and Sam says, "This is great, this and that, except for this upper left corner here, and you should change this to this and that." So that's 10 o'clock at night. I take Harry back to his hotel where I know he doesn't have a drafting table. I pick him up in the morning, and here he is. He's got the drawing showing Sam with exactly what Sam thought the upper left corner should be. He obviously came to Chicago with two drawings, one the way he knew Sam wouldn't like, and the other way he knew that Sam would like. So from that I learned that when we were making Stingray, I think the Stingray was the second game, and there were no EEPROMs in those days, there were ROMs, mass ROMs, which meant you had to order these months and months in advance. Well, okay, we're going to switch games. We got to switch program. We don't have time to get mass ROMs. There were no EEPROMs. You couldn't get mass ROMs. So I figured out, okay, if this switch was 1,000 points and this switch was light A, I'll stack the two switches, and I'll get 1,000 points light A from this rollover. Right. Now I know Sam's going to say, we can't do that. It's just not going to work. So what do? I put a flipper. The guys and I, we put a flipper right in the middle of the playfield, right in the center of the playfield. And he looks at it and says, he had told me before, you can't do that, switches and stack them like that. He looks at me and says, you can't put a flipper in the middle of the playfield just out there like a sheet in the wind. So we were able to stack the switches and do what we wanted to do, because Harry taught me that that's how you handled my father. God, I'm just going to digress today a lot. I got a whole speech that I do all the time, but I'm going to digress a lot. I was talking about Harry in the airplane, and he was a pilot. Actually, he had the first private jet. It was made in France. He imported it here. He was going to market them. He was going to sell them. He was really into his airplanes. And did not like helicopters, because they don't glide. If the motor stopped, So the head electronic engineer, the mechanical engineer, was a guy named Gordon Horlick. It was Harry, Gordon Horlick. My father was sales and what have you. He owned part of the company, sales and what have you. Gordon was a pilot. He trained bomber pilots in World War II. And then this was 47, 48, 49. But, he was obviously a really good pilot. He was a trainer. He trained these guys. So Harry bought a Link trainer. A Link trainer is a little box you sit in, and in the dark, with instruments, you're simulating. It's simulating flying an airplane. Every afternoon, Harry and Gordon spent the afternoon flying the Link trainer in the engineering department. My father flew it once, made a perfect landing, except he was 300 feet underground. Other than that, anyway, we got to talk a little bit about what I wanted to start talking about here, and that is a little bit about what we do, and what we're going to do. As I said, I was 2 when my father went into manufacturing pinball. Prior to that, he operated games of all sorts. He used to take my mother out on a date and stop at a spot, at a bar, and collect the jukebox so he had money for the date. That type of thing. So, we go way back in this. I was around it and listened to him and his customers and his, people I'm working with. I used to go to the office on the weekends, and and you guys probably remember the baseball games with the man running unit in the back and the little cardboard in those days. I had all those in my desk, and when I was supposed to be doing homework, I would play baseball with my own little baseball team down in my little desk drawer, and I had pop bumpers there and plastic, all the little plastic posts. It's all made in Chicago, because we're in Chicago, like Detroit was the center of cars. We're in Chicago, and the people who work in this business and have the tooling for the plastic posts and everything, they're in Chicago. Anyway, I used to play with them all instead of homework and rearrange everything. When Atari made pinball machines, and they made one very good pinball machine called Superman that Steve Ritchie, who I'm thrilled to say is back working with us, and moved to Chicago. I wanted to do this enough to move from California to Chicago. which Harry never did. He stayed in California. But any event, when Atari made pinball in California, just everything was from Chicago. They used to buy the legs, which weigh about 3 pounds apiece, and ship them from Chicago to California. The playfields they tried to make in California, they made in Chicago. Everything was in Chicago. The factories were in Chicago, and the result was that they couldn't make any money with it. The other problem they had is that if you're in California, the West Coast, and you're building games, you see a lot of the video game companies that are the Japanese companies are centered in. You have offices in California because the bosses all want to play golf, and it's a longer golf season, and it's much cheaper to play golf in California than it is in Japan. So they put their offices and sales offices in California, but most manufacturing is done by subcontractors in Chicago. We are a shipping point. We're in the center of the country. We have good export shipping through Montreal, New York, but better through Montreal. We can ship all over the country. We're not shipping from California to Florida. It's just a better place for manufacturing of that type of thing, which is why it's there. We see today there's some talk. A lot of things are made in China, but there's going to be manufacturing coming back to this country. Some will go to Vietnam because China's trying to raise their wages, double their wages. Some will go to Mexico, but a lot will come back to this country. Part of the problem is, even though it may still be cheaper to manufacture there, the freight of shipping products back here is very expensive. To ship a whole pinball machine, a box of air, becomes expensive. It's going to add $75, $80 right there to the cost of the game to get it to Chicago or California to then ship it out. Any event, so back to me working in pinball. I've digressed like crazy today. I'm not even through my first quarter page. So you guys are going to sit or stand. I appreciate that for a long time. We're manufacturers. I started in the stock room when I was 16. I used to work there in the summers. And as much as we love pinball design, we are manufacturers. First and foremost, we're manufacturers. So this is not an easy product to make. The pinball machine, the way we make it now, as we did in the last century, and we have to bring ourselves to the 21st century, come back to that. This pinball machine has 3,500 parts in it. Forgetting all the little chips on the circuit board. I count the circuit board as 1, 2, parts. But there's, there's 100 of this screw and whatever. There's 3,500 parts in a pinball machine. Over half a mile of wire. More man hours than in 4 days it takes to make a pinball machine. 4 man days. 32 labor hours. More man hours than in the Ford Taurus that used to be built near our factory. This is, our first two games, this company is 25 years old, started as Data East. We sold it to Sega. I bought it from Sega in '99. Our first games were in '86, '87. Laser War, Torpedo Alley had 2 things in common. These games had 2 things in common. They didn't work. The best pinball people around put them together. They didn't work. We stopped the company for 6 months, 9 months. We redid everything. We put them together. Our MRP system, Material Requirements Planning System, it cost us in those years to get it up and running right with that 3,500 parts in a game that we had to control. In those days, we brought in Touche Ross to help us because we couldn't do it ourselves. Big, accounting and consulting firm. Cost us over $100,000 in $87 so to get that system up and running. Of fees to them, forget our labor and everything else. It's complex. It is manufacturing. It is real manufacturing, and I'm very proud of the people that we do this because it's really what this country needs is manufacturing here. We've always manufactured. We export over half of our games, and we put a little American flag or Made in America back on it because we're very proud that we do manufacture things here. So first and foremost, we're manufacturers. The most important thing you do is design games. No, that's the second most important thing we do. We can design a great game, but if we can't build it or it doesn't work, what was the point of all that? There was no point of it. We have to manufacture things. And as I said, Sam started me in the stockroom when I was 16. Just to teach me that's where you make it or break it. If you don't have enough parts to make the game, then you're wasting labor. You can't build it, you lose money. These are not big margin in these things. It's certainly at our pro price, there's barely a margin at all. You know, if you have too much of something, you don't control your labor and your material coming in. What are you going to do with it? It's scrap. You have 10% too much parts. That's 10% off the bottom line that you're not going to make anymore. If you don't make money, you don't continue making pinball machines or anything else. So we are first and foremost, we're a manufacturing company. The design group, what they do most importantly, yes, they design the playfield, they come up with these great ideas, so forth and so on, but they make and keep up to date the bill of material, the parts list, those things that go into listing all the parts. And basically the MRP is just a big exploding adding machine. It's going to say, okay, you want to make 250 of this game, here's the parts list, boom, 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 this is what we need to do, and this is when we should bring it in. All that is programmed into the computer, and it has to be done, and as I say, to get it to work, it's a 9 to 18 month task and $100-some thousand in old dollars to get it to work. But that's what they do, first and foremost. They design great games, but we can't build them if they can't manufacture. So what I'd like to do is show you something about our manufacturing. So now, guys, I make electromechanical pinball machines. I don't know which one is the... Try that one. Let's see if that's it. I think so, yeah. Try that. Any sound out of it at all or not? Now I just have to talk through it. Sound. Okay, is the sound on?
Try to see if the volume is turned up on the projector.
It's all through the little. No, there's no volume button.
Any event, what you're seeing here is, is pictures of all the people in our factories, things going on. You'll recognize some, you won't recognize others. There's no sound on it. Those of you who've seen me talk before might have seen this. I don't show this at the Chicago Pinball Expo because you guys tour the factory. That's Pat Powers, who does technical service. That's Dorothy's hand. She's the parts. There's the rest of Dorothy. Chaz, also technical service. I mean, service department's the most important department we have. Incoming inspection, we have to check everything. We have drawings. We check everything either 100% or at an AQL level, acceptable quality level. Everything's inspected. You'll see in this factory, here's our stock room, you'll see in the factory, and the MRP knows where everything is on those shelves. You'll see lots of fixtures for building things. You'll see lots of test equipment. We have to make special boards for the cables, for our cables. And this is not like your computer, you plug one into another. We'll talk more about the cable later. So, any event, there's a lot that goes on in pinball. You'll see, you might see in this film, we have cable scan machines to test every cable before it goes onto the game. These people, again, we're 25 years old. Some of these people have been with us for 25 years. This is a 4-poster press that puts pinpricks. You can't build pinball without a 4-poster press. You make bed of nails and it puts the little starting holes. This one belonged to Gottlieb at one time. T-nuts in the playfield, and air guns are very important. Those air guns are on hangers. We adjust the torque once a week. You're looking at about a grand a piece for the air gun in the hanger to keep the level off the weight off the person's arms. It's had neat music. Sorry you're not hearing it, but you still get the idea of what we're doing here. Little fixtures like this to assemble things that obviously are old, but that's what it took us years to build all the stuff that we need. Playfield test racks, and we're going to adjust and test every playfield. All kinds of inspection. You don't inspect quality in at the end of the line. You inspect it as you go along. And they're testing different devices before they go in the games. There's George Gomez, Don Thorne, Pat with his back, Don Thorne, the guy sort of laughing. He's been with me. That's John Rothmel. Thorne's been with me since the old Chicago coin days. Dodie Denkberg, some more engineers. We'll be very quick here. Shelley, who worked with me forever. Jim Belt, who was at the show here. There's George, some more George.
George's busy. He didn't come, huh?
Yeah, no, he's busy. This is John Borg, game designer, as you know. Very prolific. And that's Steve Ritchie, working away. And in our office, we've got Shirley and Andrea and her daughter. And we're going to inspect things and pack things in the games when they're all done. Got to put them in a truck and ship them. which is what the whole point of this thing is to get games out to you guys and other people and what have you.
Wow.
And that's what we got out there that's really wider than that. There's a lot of people involved in making these things. So, with that, I don't know if that'll just sit there and go away or something. Okay, we're not going to worry about it. I wanted you all to see, I'd love you all, whenever you come to Chicago, you give us a call. We love to take people through the factory. We're very proud of what we do. Not any big secrets, but it is, it took us years and years and years to get this factory going, and we're very, very proud of it. We're very proud, of the guys in the manufacturing. We're proud to be manufacturers, proud to make pinball machines. We really hope you appreciate the products, and we're doing it for you and for us because we're all interested in pinball. We have, and some of you have heard me talk before, talk about we have to look at what we have in our market, and we have, this is some of you have heard this made fun of. I say that we're like farmers milking cows, and by the way, I'm a city boy, we are no horses. I do know one thing about milking cows. We made a redemption game, which was a big fiberglass cow and had 4 teats. They're called teats. There's teats on it, and you played it like that Simon Says, where you hit the buttons. And it was a big fiberglass cow. It was life size. And we had found this place in Ohio. God, I digress. That had made these all kinds, anything from dinosaurs, cows, anything. And so we went down there and arranged to buy them. So they would bring these up, and think of a pickup with a 5th wheel, in the back, and then the flatbed out of it, and they take them through the feet. They screw these cows, 18 of them, 2 by 2, side by side, 18 of them on this flatbed, drive it up the highway, and then right before they get to the factory, they drive it through the truck wash to wash the cows, and they come in clean. Okay. So, any event, we have made redemption. We've made some very good redemption games. We're really pinball manufacturers. But if you go to the Dave & Buster's here, you'll see 2 that look brand new, and they're not Monopoly that were ours, and 2 that look brand new, and they're not Simpsons, rolled out Simpsons Kooky Carnivals. And we'd like to make redemption games again someday, but right now we're busy with pinball. So we look at the market, and again, we export more than half of our games. And very patriotic, we're exporters. We're not just making for you guys here, we're making for the world. The business is stronger in some places than others. Asia's not too big. We're trying to do something in China. If we can get in there and introduce pinball to people who've never played it before, then it's a hot lick all the way across. But we're big in Western Europe, we're especially in the southern parts, Italy, France, what have you. That's where I was last night with the Italians and French, because they're here for this show. 10% of our business almost is France, 10% of our business almost is Italy. We're big, we do a nice job in Australia. 3 different markets, 3 legs of that stool. You guys, enthusiasts, again, which I divide into, it combines, but there are collectors, there's competitors, and collector competitors, what have you. You're an important part of our business. And we appreciate your interest, we appreciate your input. And we appreciate you buying the games, of course, because that's part of what we have to do to continue doing this. We have also game operators. More than half our business is for game operation. A lot of people don't quite get that, don't think that's true. But more than half our business is for game operation. In this country, probably 30% of our business is game operation. In Italy, probably 99.5% of our business is game operation. In France, 99% for game operators. And remember, between the 2 of them, it's almost 20% of our business. So there you got almost 20% of our business, just those 2 is for game operators. If America is 45-50% of our business, so and 30% there is for operators, so that's 15% overall. So I got 10, and 15. I got 35% in 3 countries right there. That's game operators. Very important. So we got to talk about what we got to do for the game operator. And then our 3rd category, and this is the growth category, is it's what I call rich doctors and lawyers. It's people who have some money and want something more in the rec room and so forth. And unlike most of you, and some of you may be rich doctors and lawyers, but unlike most of you, they're going to buy 1 game. Maybe later they'll buy one and they'll trade it. and they're going to play it for 3 weeks. They're going to have a great time, and then they're going to play it when the band's over, done playing at the Super Bowl. You know, the Super Bowl halftime band plays. They play the game for a little bit, but it's artwork, it's furniture, it's something that makes a statement. One of the shows I can watch with my 24-year-old daughter. I can watch Simpsons and Family Guy. I can watch Cribs, and on Cribs, you know, where they show the houses of the rich people. Typically, one of the 3 houses they show has a pinball machine in it, and the guy or the girl is as proud of the pinball machine as they are of their Ferrari. I tried to get them to trade a pinball machine for a Ferrari, and it hasn't worked yet. Keep working it. So, in any event, we have 3 markets that we're dealing with, and we have to cover all 3 of those. Let's see how I'm doing here. So we got to work on the 3. We've got to satisfy them. It doesn't mean that one size fits all, that they all need the same thing. Okay? So what we determined is that we should differentiate the product, make a different product, maybe for part of the market. We think our pro game is great for most people, homeowners and what have you. For operators, we also started making, as you know, a limited edition premium. And, well, we made a limited edition game, a numbered, limited total number. We weren't numbering the games like fine artwork like we do now, but we made a limited edition before with Elvis Gold, and sometime later Spider-Man Black. They were eye candy differences, just eye candy, mostly eye candy. Now we're adding things to them, more components, more things to go. It costs us more money to do it. We charge you more money. If you want it, great. But the game will have more on it, as you know, and we're starting Transformers production of its LE, all the versions, next week. So, any event, we have the 2 different kind of games, and we look at the games, and let's talk about the operators for a minute. And as we know, I've said that one size doesn't fit all, and we need the operators to make money with these games. We need them to be fun. The most important thing with pinball machines is fun. That's what we're selling. This is, my father taught me that a pinball machine is an inexpensive entertainment. It's like a movie. It's we got to have a theme, action, climax, good photography, good promotion, good distribution, good photography, artwork, good promotion, good sound, good promotion, good distribution. All those, just like a movie. The only difference is that I always use, and I'm dating myself, a movie, China Syndrome, which is about the nuclear meltdown which happened about the time we had a nuclear meltdown of one of these power plants. And the point is that we're there about fun. We're not telling any great moral story. We're not trying to convince anybody of anything. We're just trying to give fun, a little bit of that fabric of life. And so that, that's what we're doing. Well, the operator has to make money with these games. And I am firmly convinced if operators don't make money with pinball machines, we're making some changes to help that. I think they need to change their split on locations. They typically split 50-50. And for all games, that really doesn't work much anymore. They need to increase, 35, 65, and we see some of that. If operators don't make money with pinball, then we just make a collector game, and we don't make pinball machines. Now, if we don't make coin-op, if we don't have coin-op machines, if it's not out in the public, if we can't get it out in the public, it's not going to be cool anymore. People collect things because they're either today's or yesterday's version of something. People collect things. If you go by a McMansion and the 4 garage doors open up, one's got a big Lexus SUV that the wife's driving, one's got a Mercedes 2-seater, these are rich doctors or lawyers, that the husband's driving, and then there's a 356 Porsche and some other car, and the other 2, that are collector cars. Not one of those garage doors opens up to let you see its horse and buggy, because nobody's collecting horses and buggies. They're collecting cars, and in fact, one of the collectors that I know in pinball said he was a young man, had a heart attack. He was going to collect something. He needed a hobby, and he couldn't afford cars, so he collects pinball machines. They're current. In fact, I think, and you guys may correct me, I think the games that have the most value were probably, and the most collectible and the most people want, were probably not from the 60s, or not Woodlegs of the 40s and 50s, but are 80s and 90s and 2000 years. Because they are comparable current to, similar to, don't do everything we're doing now, to what we do. I mean, listen, you guys trick out pinball machines, and I haven't seen anybody trick out a wood leg and put LEDs and color side molding and all that stuff on it. That's not really what most people are into. They're into the modern pinball or semi-modern pinball. Wow. Okay. We need the operator to make money with this. And what do we find? The games became, this happens in all game design. I've seen it in video game, I've seen it in home game. All game design's trying to do the same thing. If we're going to make money with the game, if we're going to get people to play it or buy carts or cartridges or whatever it is, we have to broaden the player base. Whether it be slot machines in Las Vegas, although they can go for lots of narrow player groups, but they have to broaden the player base by having lots of different games. Or AWPs, amusement prizes in the UK, or re-games, you know, for the home. Whatever it is, we need to broaden the player base. We need to get more people interested. We need to have them want to play. We need to provide fun. Okay? All right. We look at what happens in game design, and as the player gets better, the designers make the game harder. And the player gets better, we make it more complex. The computer lets us do so much, we make it harder. This player stays home. He's no longer going out to the arcade or the bar, and the new 21-year-old or 18-year-old phony ID or whatever it is in that bar, and you know, it's not fun. It's not fun. You have to be really into these things. It's like the English AWPs. I couldn't figure out how to play those. You had to have played them forever and ever and ever. Curly's checking his phone. I'm checking. Okay, so we have to make the games fun. And what we found, one of our suppliers, one of our customers, our English customers, sent us a Gottlieb spin-a card, which is a 60s Gottlieb card game. Not one of the drop target things, but another one with you built up cards on your hand and so forth. It was very understandable. People knew what to do. Part of the problem with a lot of our games is the casual player doesn't know what to do. And it wasn't pure skill. It wasn't ramps feeding back to the return lanes and flip and, you know, orbit and orbit and orbit, where the skilled player just ate the game up. And what happened with these games, remember, an operator's got to make money on it. So let's say the game's at 75 cents, or half a buck for ease of multiplication, and you guys play one game for 45 minutes and don't need to play again. I play one game for 45 seconds. I don't want to play again. Game made $1 an hour, and I got to tell you, $1 an hour on a $5,000 piece of equipment is going to take a hell of a long time to pay for it. In fact, it's never going to get paid for it. It's not going to cut it, and we're not going to have. They're going to be the horse and buggies behind those garage doors. We got to let everybody have fun with us. What the spin-a card had was something Harry Williams had taught, and that's randomness. Harry said the ball is wild. It's a ball and bat game. You got to know where the ball's going. The ball is wild. Okay, so we got to have more randomness, and we've started doing that. We got to have the games play shorter. You're not going to play through it in one game. You're going to go this way. You play through this feature in this game, and then the next time you play, you'll go there, this or that. We can't have you playing for 45 minutes if that operator's going to make any money, and we can't have me playing for 45 seconds because I'm not going to play again. You know, I digress. I say me. I'm not a great player. I'm old and slow, and we part of the job at our place is during part of the design cycle, everybody has to play for 45 seconds. No, not all the people in the factory, though we do have a game out for them to play. But all the overhead group is assigned 15 minutes. Assigned 15 minutes, they must play. And some of our players, like Lyman, are expert players, and they're going to bring the times up. Some of the players, like me, are old and slow, and I'm there for a particular purpose, because I play old and slow like the guy in the pub who's had about 5 or 6 beer. And we got to see that he's going to have fun too. So meanwhile, we see the games have to play shorter, have more randomness, have where I could have a, you know, Lyman and Keith was with us at the time, and they used to play in the office across from me every afternoon. And our games were such that Lyman would play, and you know, he plays way over like this and so forth. He'd play. Keith would be programming in his office at the end of the hall. When Lyman got done with his ball, he'd walk by Keith's office, wave, sit down. He'd program for 15, 20 minutes while Keith came and played his ball. They were never in the room at the same time. But when we had the spin-a card there, They were in that room, they were swearing at the game and at each other and having a good time. And when I played, once in a while, I could have that great ball and I could be in the game. I might have been able to play them for a beer and have a chance of not being the sponsor all night long. Once in a while, I had a beer myself. So the point is, we have to change the design philosophy so that the opera makes money, which means that the casual player and the great player have a good time playing the game. Now, I've watched some tournaments. We had a tournament in Canada, and the final game came down to the last game. You know, it was going to be 3 out of 5, and we had to make it 2 out of 3. And the last of that 3 was an hour and a half. 2 great players on a pinball machine a couple of years ago, and that's the kind of games we were making. And the distributor who was putting it on and put 8 of this game new and 8 of that game new was ready to pull the plug and never do it again. I got to tell you, it's not really a great spectator sport. And in that light, you guys, some of you have groups that play at home, you know, and you play in the basement at home, or I don't know if you have basements here. We have basements. Yeah. No. So you play in the rec room at home. I went to college in New Orleans, and if we had a basement in New Orleans, it'd be a swimming pool. Yeah. So any event, you know, 1 guy's playing the game, and 3 guys are eating Cheetos most of the night. You know? I mean, it's just some of your wives and kids won't play with you because you're really not that much fun to watch, and they don't get to play enough. So even this concept, it makes sense for all kinds of players, in that we need to go back to what we were. Harry Williams, The Ball is Wild, so that everybody can have fun with these, and you guys can have a challenge still. And this goes back to my father's days, you know, and again, in the 50s and 60s. I've heard forever that, you know, the thing in game design, the challenge was to let the casual player have fun and still keep the core guy and let him have fun. So we're trying to differentiate the product. We're trying to change the design concept a little bit in order to let everybody have fun with it. And so that we can have games in the street. And therefore have games that are that, you know, will continue to be modern and be appealing to everybody, and will continue my passion, your hobby, and that's pinball machines. You know, I'm 66. I don't need to do this. This is silly. I'm going to tell you. It's not that I make a fortune, but I also get paid Social Security. You know, I could take my Social Security, but no. All of us want pinball machines to exist and to continue to exist. Now, for them to continue to exist, design philosophy, segment the market, sell different kinds of product, get the right design philosophy for the operators and for the homeowner. In those different kind of products, we can do some little things different. Next thing is, and as you see, this room is indicative of it, we're changing the channels a little bit, and that is how you sell, the channels you sell through. And we sell through people now that aren't necessarily the traditional coin-op dealers, certainly in this country. In other countries, we have importers in each country. We have a very organized market, and those importers control their market, make a market, and sell to sub-distributors. In effect, Stern Pinball is the importer for the United States. Technoplay, which is the Zachariah family from Zachariah Pinball, are the importer for Italy and so forth. When I bought the company in 1999, so I go to Emanuela was here. You met Emanuela, and she was translating for Marino, the father, and I explained that I bought, the pinball company, and he said through Emanuela, he's crazy, we're going to have to help him. They had made pinball. They know what's involved in it. They had made money and they had lost money, and ultimately they lost their company in it, and they had to start all over again. They're a wonderful company right now, but they don't make pinball machines. So in any event, we have different type of product. We have different type of, for different segments in the market. We recognize the different segments. We want all 3 of the segments. We have changed the product to some extent. We look at the channels we're selling through, And we realized we have these three different marketplaces. You know, one thing I have to point out is that when we sell, and you guys are probably pretty lucky in this. I have a friend who's a billiard store business, and says that if a guy comes in, rich doctor, lawyer comes in, he wants to buy a rec room or he wants to buy a pool table or this or that, they'll talk to him for 45 minutes, this or that. If he comes in with his wife, we'll close him, because all big ticket items are approved. They're going to the house. It's mommy's decision. So daddy has to tell mommy it's for the kids. One of the great things that we lost as a result of that is the old artwork had a lot of what we call TNA, and there's no more TNA in pinball. You know, it's much more family friendly. The next thing that I started to talk about, and I was talking about that big cable, and you saw it here, and we need to bring the technology into the 21st century. Manufacturing technology, product technology. And we have to do things that really make sense to the game. Williams had, and George Gomez was a leading force in it, did a wonderful engineering effort with the Pinball 2000. And they were able to integrate to some extent that monitor into the play of the game. It wasn't just eye candy. It was, you know, part of the game. Eye candy's nice once in a while, you know, like Elvis Gold. But we need to, in our LEs, have more than just eye candy. Okay? We need to have stuff in them, and we do. We need to have eye candy that makes sense, like you know, the two different colors for the Decepticon and Autobots and so forth. But not just eye candy. We have to put stuff into them. What we need to do in coming into the 21st century, I have a couple 8x10 glosses of that. Yeah. Actually, send me some pictures. We'll put it on our Facebook website or something. I should have brought my camera to take pictures. So, any event, what do I mean? You know, what are some of the technological things? We are making basically the same product, just with more parts in it, as we did in the 70s. Our electronic system with a big sound CPU board, just like the old Williams games had, and a big I/O power board, is technology. Well, we've advanced a little in technology. We're surface mount. You know, forget labor, cost, everything, through-hole inaccuracies doesn't exist anymore in the real world. You can't get most of the parts can't be even gotten, and you also can't comply with
ROHS.
ROHS requirements, which means in Europe you can't have lead in anything. We use a different display, not the gas discharge, because of the lead around the edge of the display that seals the gas discharge display. We can't send that display to Europe, and in fact we now have liked the reliability of the LED version of that display so much that we're going to go to it in general. But you know, all this stuff. This old technology, yeah, we put a modern processor in finally in the SAM system. And SAM, by the way, stands either for Sam Stern, that's we call the current system SAM, or there's no way that those chips, which are nothing but sand, can make these games operate. So it's all done with smoke and mirrors. It's smoke and mirrors is SAM. The White Star system, a chemical named, and Stern means star in German. Stern in German is star. I have white hair, so it was the White Star system. That's where that came from. Anyway, so what do? You look at a car today, and when you're behind it, behind a new car, I want you to look, and there's no light bulbs. It's LEDs in the taillights. A little ring of LEDs, they don't burn out. And they don't require a whole bunch of power. You know, our GIs, we got a boat anchor in the bottom of that game. It's called a transformer, but it's a boat anchor. And it's there largely because of the GIs. And, you got 44 GIs that are so full of power. Of course, when you guys change them to LEDs, what a great idea. They're not pulling so much power anymore. And you'll see that our LEs are LEDs. Our LEs use LEDs for the GIs. That they're surface mount. Some of you would rather have bulbs plug in and out so you can change the colors. But under the inserts, it's not the end of the world. And surface mount is what the real world is today. So, You've got a car, used to have a cable like we do, that thick around, running through the car. And I didn't bring my little piece of wire in. Now it's got 6 wires, like you plug your computer in to the wall when you're not wireless. You know, it's got 6 wires. It's a bus system, and it's talking to boards along the way. And instead of a cable like this, it's got a little 6-wire cable and some power distribution. That's it. Okay? And all that big cable stuff is gone. That I/O board is gone. Okay? We're working on that end of next year. A CPU soundboard about this big, which is all it should be. Not like this. No I/O board like this. Old news. Modern. We've got to come into the 21st century. We need to work on the cabinet come in the 21st century. Yes, we went to decals, was used in the 21st century. That's what, these are video game decals. Same supplier, same thing that's on a Raw Thrills game, that type of thing. And we started it with Transformers, and we'll start doing that towards the future. So we're changing the product, we're improving the product. We've got a lot of things that we want to do with it technologically to make it better for reliability, for manufacturing, and maybe sometimes easier for you guys to trick out, as the case may be, maybe doing some of it ourselves. We're just playing in the area so far. We're learning. Now, I want you to understand, please, that some of the things we do may not make sense to you in a game design viewpoint or any other way. We're trying some things. We're not, going to just keep doing exactly what we're doing. We're moving on. We're trying. We're changing what we're doing, and we will continue to do that. So please understand, that's what we're trying to do. And so I don't mind if some of you think that we just don't get it, we're stupid. I do want you to know we're not crazy. We're trying what we're trying to do for different reasons. And some will work and some won't. I've said that we need to have pinballs on the street. We need to have pinballs being operated. It's a social game anyways. It's not really for 4 guys to sit in the basement 3 eating Cheetos. It's a social game. We should all get out a little bit. Harry Williams once said, oh, it was hot hand. It had this big flipper and the holes going around. The big flipper would go in a circle and knock them out. And Harry would say, oh, the kids are going to love this feature. And I said, Harry, that's great. I'm glad the kids are going to love it. But your job's to get people drunk and keep them drunk. We were in the bar business most of those days. Now we're in bars, bowling alleys, movie theaters are the new street locations all over the world. And we need to be out there and have the public see us. The young people think pinball's cool, actually. They haven't seen it. A lot of them haven't seen it very much. They need to see it more so that we have people interested in it later. And then we need them to have fun playing it. They think it's cool, but if they play it and it's 45 seconds, it's not cool. You guys can help all this. How are we going to help this? Take your group out to play. If you go out once a week, or meet somebody at some bar once a week, or once every other week, and if you say to that owner of the bar, if you get a pinball in here, or a couple pinballs, probably one to start with, we're going to put the phrase in the bar business, and I was in the bar and nightclub business, is putting seats in the stools. We'll put seats in your stools. There's 8 of us that come out. We're going to spend, $10, $20 a piece. It's money to you. Talk to your operator. Put game in here. We'll come here and we'll play, a tournament here. And now, of course, your first question is the operator going to put anything decent and take care of it. The operator may not even do it. The operator may, and I know many guys that are doing this, that put games in for the operator, so to speak. The operator says, I don't want the pinball. They can have the pinball. There's a bar. I was visiting my daughter in Denver. She moved there. And we're driving by a bar called the One Up. And she says, oh, there's pinball machines in there. I said, well, come on. It's in their Wrigleyville. Wrigleyville's near a baseball park. It's their baseball. It's all 20-somethings in the place, which is great. Because that's younger people playing the game. So, all right. I said, great. So where are we going? Turn around. So we go in. 14 pinball machines are in there. All casual players coming into play. The operator is what I call an enthusiast operator. Not an operator, but an enthusiast operator. Dan is one of the competitors, enthusiasts. The first Sunday of every month, he has a competition there that has the good players coming in. So he does attract them. What's really interesting, he owns the pinball machines. There's also 3 skee balls in there. And I've seen that in bars, skee ball competition going on in bars in Chicago, one bar. He has he does, the bar owns and has 42 1980s video games. You know, all the games from the 80s. They have a couple 1990s that are in that 42, and those are MK Mortal Kombats. But other than that, it's all 1980s. And the point of that to me, coming back, looping around what I was saying before, the video games often got too complex. Same's true of our pinball machine, and the young people will play if they can play, if it's playable. And our games became unplayable. So back to what you guys can do. Number one is try and tell them you put seats in the stools. Number two, if not, maybe you put your games in there. I know somebody in Chicago, the guy who made those corner pieces that are in our packing, he operates the games in one of the bars not too far from us and rotates his games out, and he gets a lot of enthusiasts coming to play. But you know, you can do that and have your group go to that bar. May work, may not work. And the third thing I'm going to say is, you know, we started, we linked to, it started with Pinball Rebel. We linked to them. And we have a site, and there's plenty of other ones, that you can list where pinball machines are, what's there, and you all want to do that. And that way keep track and tell each other where there are games to play. And then we'll all know more. I know I have to use it when somebody comes to Chicago and says, we're going to play a pinball machine. I got to go and find that for them that way. So those are three things that you can do. Any event, what we're doing is we're trying to design a game for a broader group of players. In the pro game, we're trying to make something special for the collectors. In the LE game, we're looking at how to best distribute these. We know we got 3 player bases to deal with, buyer bases to deal with, operators for players. Most of the operators tell me, including the enthusiast operators, that their players are casual players in bars, and restaurants, or whatever it is. It's casual players. It's not really just expert players. Not enough of you guys going out. You're not drinking enough. I get that problem. I like Russian vodka, and I got a call from the Russian counselor that I wasn't drinking enough, and those textbooks were down, so I have to spend more time in bars watching games. Anyway, we segment the market, different product for it. More than half our business is for operators all over the world. We export more than half of our games, and so we need to make the game more modern, keep up with it, but still not change the nature of the product. That's what we're doing, and we appreciate your support with it. And with that, if you got any questions, I do that. I have no idea where I was in my notes because I just left the slide. Yes, sir.
How does licensing a theme affect your business, whether it's on the cost of the game, paying the licensing fee versus not having to do that for a regular game?
The licensing is, to me, exceptionally important. Some people don't like it, but we have to look at the real world. Licensing started with Lucas. It started to the extent it is now with Lucas. After Star Wars, you know, the studio owed him some money, so he went into Ladd, who's the president of the studio, said, all right, keep the money, give me all the ancillary rights. And the Ladd calls down and said, well, how much sell, you know, what do we do with these rights? Okay, you can have all the licensing rights, all the ancillary rights. And that was about $1 billion ago that happened. And it introduces a product. It does so much to it. If you make a stuffed mouse, you're not going to sell it unless you pay Walt, and then you're going to sell it. It puts us in touch with other creative people out of our just pinball ivory tower. The Simpsons people, Matt Groening's people did the art on The Simpsons. Arnold did the speech on Terminator. Seth MacFarlane did 2 hours for Family Guy. They tell us which are the important aspects of the title. There's a ball-eating dinosaur on Jurassic Park because Crichton knew that dinosaurs were hot and the ball should eat a dinosaur. He picked dinosaurs to write his book on cloning about as the vehicle. It puts you in touch with other creative people. In Tales from the Crypt, there's a really cool scene in the dot matrix of somebody being cut in half with a chainsaw. And I mean, our guys were exceptionally creative to come up with that. Except I know it's Joe Pesci. I saw the episode. It gives you ideas. It gives you 4 corners within which to design. It also, if it's executed right, it will attract the player if it's the right title. We did Tron because you guys wanted Tron. We heard that you wanted Tron. You spoke up. We listened. We did Tron. We sold Tron, especially the LEs of it. It attracts the player. If it's done right, the game will be coherent, cohesive and coherent to what the title is. Maybe the most important thing is that if I call that French customer that's almost 10% of my business, and I say, I've got monsters at, on Green Street or something. No, that's nice. Send me 2, I'll test it. And 2 months later, they might order something. If I call and I say, I got Transformers, they say, here's $300,000, send me a container. It's part of getting the business going. It's what the world is today. The world is licensed. There's a Lego store, Lego blocks, whatever they are, in the Water Tower in Chicago. And probably 60–70% of the Lego products are licensed. Star Wars and stuff like that. Why are they doing that? Why? Because that's what the world is today. So that's why we do it. It's more difficult because you got to get approvals and so forth, and sometimes Avatar was all approved by
Jim Cameron.
no, actually, who's number 2? Who's the producer? Oh, crud.
James.
No. That's well known. Any event, everything went to him. Cameron's the director. His buddy, he does everything with the same guy. It slips my mind right now. Close though. It was all. Everything went to him. When we did the first Batman, we had to redo Kim Basinger's legs 9 times because she didn't like them. Keaton thought his jowls hung down too much. It was perfect like this. And we couldn't find Jack Nicholson for them to get approvals because he was depressed somewhere in the south of France. So there are problems with it, but it brings a lot to the table. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you were interviewed for the documentary special when lit. I was wondering how you felt about the final product when you saw it, or have you seen it?
Is that the one with Sam's belly hanging out of his shirt?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And the guy in France saying pinball is dead and so forth. I thought it was really not very positive to our industry. Didn't help us at all. I thought it was very negative. It said we're dead. It said, well, I don't think so. If I believed in what they had in that film, I'd stick with my Social Security payments. I don't think much of it. It was, but what are you going to do?
And why'd you do it?
I didn't realize that they were going to trash us. You don't have control of what somebody's going to say or write, and we do. You've seen us on TV and all kinds of stuff. And now we do PR. One of the things we're doing is so much more social networking, and ultimately, as we come to a new electronic system, our new board system will have Ethernet capabilities, which we won't stuff in the beginning. I mean, all kinds of stuff. I don't know what it does, but the idea is that one day you've got to get into the cloud, and the games have to do something more than they're doing.
John Landau on
Thank you
Avatar.
very
But,
much.
my question
Thank
is
you.
actually
This could have been a long night.
you said you go into the LEDs for the dot matrix display replacement.
Yeah.
Will they be color or are they going to be generic orange?
Right now we're still in a one color. Actually, 13 shades of orange is what we have. We do need to do something to replace. And maybe not the same on the LE and the Pro, but I don't want to just play film. That's not what we're supposed to do. We think pinball needs a backglass. Maybe once in a while do something different. But we need to come up with a standard. After we get done with the new electronics, then we talk about what happens next. But we're looking at some stuff now. But I'm so excited about having a bus system. It's the real world. Yes, sir.
I've been to 5 Dave & Buster's over the past
No
year
pinball.
and a half. Not a pinball machine.
Not a pinball
Not
there.
Manhattan, not Baltimore,
Not one.
here.
None of them. None of
Why?
them.
What
Easy.
the heck?
Dave & Buster's is a corporation that runs it like a grocery store. Great place, but a grocery store. And a grocery store computes earnings per square foot. There's no... we don't make enough to get shelf space with a pinball. We need to get them to make more money. We need you all to tell the managers, where's your pinball machine?
Well, I don't go in there for that reason.
Well, but you need to tell them that.
I walk through.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, you all need to tell them that. But that's why. It's straight, it's grocery store, Walmart, whatever you want to call it. How much per square foot does it sell? That tells you how much square footage you're going to get. Other operations that was getting more and more in GameWorks are looking at rounding the product that they offer, giving the whole entertainment experience. Because technically, not technically, but really, there's so many dollars that are going in that arcade. The only coin machine in a Dave & Buster's is the one that takes your money and gives you the credit on the cards. It's not the video game or the redemption game or the pinball machine. They don't take coins. And there's only so much going to go in that coin machine. And the same's true of a Walmart or anything else. People are going to spend X bucks on that visit. And so, their theory I don't agree with, but then again, I don't own a bunch of Dave & Buster's. Yes?
I have two questions. One, I noticed that there's a company in Spain that made a limited release of an old canasta game.
Yeah.
There's also Big Juicy Melons that Dennis What's His Face is doing. Mm-hmm. And I like electromechanical games myself. I'm just curious, what's your thought on those EM-style solid-state new games that are something?
Dennis's game, which is very interesting, is they're going to hand make. They buy a couple old games of a particular model, remake it into their game.
Do you see a future in that for Stern at all? Like some sort of a...
No, actually, no. I mean, we'd love to for corporations be able to make something, but they call us and say, we want for our beer in Australia, we want 5 games or 50. I said, great. We could re-art and everything. One of the games that we have, send me over $300,000-400,000. It's cost prohibitive. Now, if we ever made a kit of all we got to do is change a few things, but let's say we were to take a Transformers and we're going to change some of the characters to beer bottles or something like that to hit. Now we got to take out redo all the art, which is we're going to call it $100,000 there, and we got to take out all the dot matrix and all the sound and everything else, and it doesn't make sense.
And my other question is, I noticed that this company, Farsight Studios, is now licensing Stern games for virtual. What is your opinion on that?
Well, we did it.
Oh, yeah.
My opinion is it's a good idea. The reason we did it, and it's not a whole bunch of money involved, but we think that it's just one more way to get more people aware of the product, the pinball. In addition, at some point, maybe, and I don't know if we ever do this, maybe we could have them about the same time as our pinball machine, and then they'd be able to, help us in a current marketing of it. I don't know. It's just our opinion is that this is not the 20th century. It's the 21st century. It's time to enter the 21st century.
I want to say thank you for that, because I can't find pinball machines
Thank you so much.
in my town.
Yeah.
And I can't hold them.
There you go. Okay. Yes, sir.
I think you just answered this. How did the retheming with Shrek Family Guy do for you?
The remake of it?
The retheming Shrek
Oh,
Family Guy?
yeah, that was that was expensive to do, but it worked out well. And Family Guy, which I love the game, doesn't sell in the export market. They don't know what it is. We were ahead of ourselves. We were ahead of ourselves in this country. We were ahead of the market. We did it too soon. But Shrek puts us in a whole different kind of location, both here and, for some reason, some of the exporters liked it. So, we made more Family Guy than Shrek. But it was, something to continue to reuse it. Would we re-art again? That was unique, and the reason that was unique is we had originally we're the only licensor of Disney, and many of us, Marvel's around, and now belongs to Disney, but we have the only Disney license for pinball machines. That's Pirates, and we have another one. We have the only DreamWorks license for coin-op, in both cases coin-op, and that's Shrek. We went to them, as did other people, wanting to do Shrek as a redemption game, and they thought, that's horrible gambling for children, this kind of thing. We'd like to do a pinball. I said, well, I can't do a Shrek pinball because no bar owner is going to bring that in. You take, we have to have something that they think is going to appeal to 20 and 30-year-olds, and you go in with notoriously bad with things like Bugs Bunny, the game, the title. we did Rocky and Bullwinkle, and we really, Joe Chemical and I, we watched this, and he's a decade younger than me. In college, we'd watch Fraction Fairy Tale and Rocky and Bullwinkle, whatever, and they were great. Unfortunately, when we came out with the game, it was just about when they were putting the comics on Saturday morning cartoons. Nobody wanted it anymore. No bar owner wanted it. It's a children's title. We don't make children's games, even though we need mommy to think we do. Okay. We're actually, we're in the bar business, and that's, I'm an old-time pinball guy, but we need to make, all the comic book titles, not the South Park, Simpsons, that type of thing. All the kiddie comic, not the action hero comic book movies, but the kiddie cartoons, Popeye and all that stuff. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I blew that license. I lost it once, and Camico wanted it back and said, okay, what a mistake. I mean, it's just a horrible title, horrible. Horrible. Wrong market. Anything else, folks? Yes.
There was,
either one of you, go first.
there was rumors of perhaps a Harry Potter license.
My dream. J.A. Rawlings.
Yes.
She is anti-drinking games going pubs.
So that kind of killed that rumor.
I've been trying for 5 or 6 years, and it's it's just I don't give up, but it's it's just ain't happening.
I guess.
And by the way, it's not a matter of, well, I'll give you a wheelbarrow of money. One is we don't have a wheelbarrow of money, and second is she's got a lineup of wheelbarrows of money. It doesn't matter.
I was under the impression, though, that Warner Brothers owned all of the rights to the characters, pictures, and everything, but she still has the final say?
She owns. She owns. She owns. Yes. Yes. Yes, sir.
I've got a question. In video games, I think the term is localization, where they will tailor something to wherever it's been sent. Since you deal with France and Italy, is there any kind of localization you do in your materials?
We used to do even more, but what we do is, scorecards, yes. Instruction cards, yes. The dot matrix is in French, Italian, German, Spanish. We used to translate the speech for a little while. We started that because I thought I could get pinball machines in Hispanic locations in America, and that does not. They don't. They're jukebox locations. And then the Germans thought, oh, we want that too. I will tell you that I don't speak a word of Italian, but I think The Sopranos in Italian is fantastic. It really is. And the Italians, they think it's great. They think it's great. It's really good. In the games, what we're doing in China is an NBA kit, because they're NBA crazy, and we changed the black screen to put some of the stuff in. We specifically made a lot of the lettering in black, knowing that we were going to go back and put some of the Chinese. Anybody else?
Yes. Any titles on the horizon you can tell just the people in this room, and we promise not to know?
Yes, next question.
Do you believe in the future that any of your licenses that you get are actually going to promote that there's a pinball game coming out? Like, these movies, a movie will come out, a pinball machine will come out, and there's no promotion. And
no cross promotion of it. There has been a little bit, nothing that's really worked out well. We've been in, they've used us in contests as a giveaway and so forth. It basically costs us a game and goes nowhere.
Because something like the UFC, they promote the hell out of everything related to them. If they put their name on it, they're going to promote it on pay-per-view, TV, everywhere possible.
It's something we'd like to, we talk about, like to get there. Part of the problem is that licensing has become so important with such departments that, in these movie companies, it's a different department. Right. They're not even, they don't even talk to each other. The promo people have nothing to do with the licensing people. They're selling over there, and they're buying over there, and they're not. You go to Budweiser and say, okay, I'm going to make a Budweiser pinball. It's going to go in all these bars, and it'll be great promotion at people's home and all that. Just like those food stamps will say how much, and they say how much you want to pay us for. They want to be paid. Go to Miller, same routine. It's amazing, but. We tell them we're a big billboard going to be out there for 10, 20 years, and it doesn't get them at all.
UFC just brought up the thought, how did Royal Rumble do as a wrestling or fight type similar promotion? Did they sell good enough for you?
It was a long time ago. We weren't very happy with that game. We had a lot of trouble with it, though. And that is that we did the artwork, and all these muscle-bound guys, and then this big steroids thing comes out. We do all the artwork. Get those muscles off of there. And we redid the artwork, and then, and by the way, take him off because he's out, you know, and this and that. It was hard. It was hard.
And do you think Star Trek would be a good pinball theme in the future, or don't know?
Didn't Steve do a Star Trek once?
Yeah, he might have.
Didn't we do something like that once?
Yeah, he might have.
Yeah.
When you did Simpsons, why not Futurama?
Yes, and they would love us to do Futurama.
So
first of all, it's over. Second is that it never made the Simpsons level, and it never made it out of the country. I think it's bad in France and good in Italy, or vice versa. I talked to them recently about it, and I said, give me something that tells me to do it, and they can't. And remember, we're exporting more than half of our games. So it's very important what goes on in different parts of the world. I can't tell you every title we've done. It's been, you know, a home run. Sometimes you end up with a title and you got to just keep moving along. But that one is you know, I mean, again, Family Guy. We were the first licensor of Simpsons, and in those days, the first Simpsons, you know, the original one, not the Pinball Party. And in those days, we would be 2/3 export, 1/3 domestic. And in that case of that Simpsons, we were 2/3 domestic, 1/3 export. It still worked out very well, but it was they didn't know what the title was then. When we made Pinball Party, no problem. Everybody knew what it was. Simpsons had caught on. We were too early with that one. In this case, we'd be too late, and it never did really make it. One other interesting thing, and if you remember the Simpsons, these are just interesting little things. Most of you all find interesting. I hope you do. The original Simpsons was a white cabinet, and to show you how much the world has changed, we made the ones for France with a blue cabinet, because they wouldn't take a white cabinet, because cigarette smoke turns the white cabinet yellow. Now there's no cigarette smoke in the bars. Except I see down here they have it in some places.
I have to sell more alcohol than food.
Is
that how the state law works? Yeah.
That's interesting. Ah, okay. All right.
Two things. Futurama is still airing, by the way. It still exists. Like Futurama, they still make new episodes.
Yeah, they still making them.
And they brought it back. They keep canceling it and bringing it back. It's like the third time they brought it back. And second, have you thought about like, because you have all this like history of pinball, because you know we're very involved in it. Have you ever thought of like writing a book? Because I mean, I think these are interesting stories personally.
It's funny if people write these books and they're better writers.
But you lived it.
Yeah. Hey, Roger. Roger's going to write another book. He'll write a book. He'll do it. Let my sons write it. He'll do it. No, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
How about a Die Hard pinball machine?
Maybe one day. I don't know. Maybe it's possible.
Bruce McLean.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Did you work with Williams back in the days? Because I see a lot of like Harry Williams is on Stern playfields and stuff like that.
Once again, my father owned Williams part of the time with Harry. From 1947, he sold it in '64 to Seaburn. He stayed there until '69 or so, went to Bally 1 year as executive vice president. Harry's been with him all that time, but he had already bought Harry out. And went to Bally for 1 year, came back to Williams, was there till '76. Harry was there with him when we took Chicago Coins Acid. Harry, designed games for us there, and until he died. Harry was always with us. Always. Is that it, folks? Anybody else? I'll wore you out. Thank you very much. Thank you for your interest.